Hi guys, and welcome to today's video where I wanted to do something a bit different. So obviously my channel has loads of care guides, information on UVB or heating or food or supplements, everything like that. But I thought to myself, there's a lot of people that are watching my channel to find out more about this animal that they want to purchase, but they might not have ever actually held it. And I know for me, one thing about getting a new pet is knowing how handleable, is that a word? How well they can be handled, how much they will tolerate us. I must admit I am definitely a pet owner that likes to handle and interact with their pets. Some people prefer sort of display pets, and that's absolutely perfect as well. But I like to handle my pets, so I tend to go for geckos that are pretty docile, that do tolerate being handled really well. So today I thought we'd look at the leopard gecko, obviously, and I will be doing a crested gecko one as well for anyone out there looking to get a crested gecko, and just talk about the experience, what you might experience with a new gecko, just weird sensations you might not even realise. Like, for example, this sounds weird, but the only thing prior to holding a leopard gecko that I had handled that was sort of similar but wasn't at all was a newt. And they are super soft, they're super lightweight, so when I held a baby leopard gecko I was like, oh my god, I can feel claws. Now, to me now I don't even feel them, but when you first handle them, these are things you notice. So I want to talk about that, and just in general how they do with being handled. So let's talk about new leopard geckos. So maybe they're a baby, a juvenile, or they were owned by someone else previously and they're an adult. They may react completely different, each individual gecko. I've been very lucky that Gizmo, Minnie and Ziggy, when I got them, they were all babies. They were all from local breeders who had raised them and handled them, so they were really used to being handled. And although Minnie, apparently before I got her, she did screech at anyone who went to her tub, you know, she was pretty chill as well. And when I got Diego, he was 6 months old, he was from Pets at Home, and even then he was chill, so I've been very lucky. But you may find that your gecko could easily be spooked when you go to handle it. And one thing you have in common, and this always happens with babies, they have so much more energy than adults, they don't sit like this. If you have a baby and it's walking hand to hand, that's perfectly normal. To be honest, if your gecko has lots of energy like that and is alert, that's actually perfect. You want them to have energy. Now, Minnie will be 13. She may be 13 by the time this video goes out. She's an older lady. She likes to take things slow. But if you have a baby leopard gecko, do not be alarmed if it keeps walking and goes quite fast. And all you have to do is put hand to hand, hand to hand. I've spoken about this before, but if you want to feel a little more secure with this so it doesn't run off your hand, sit down, have your lap not far away, so if they go on your lap they can. Sit on the floor or just sit somewhere secure where there's not a big drop. But a gecko moving really quickly is super normal. Another thing you'll find, which Minnie is displaying perfectly right now, is they're flattened on your hand. And I remember when Gizmo did this for the first time, when I chose her, I put the deposit down for her and I was handling her and I was like, oh, her belly's just gone down. Yeah, they do this. So your hand's nice and warm. We're actually a pretty perfect temperature for a leopard gecko. And when they feel comfortable and when they want that extra heat, they will flatten down and take it. We are like little portable heat mats for them. So that's another thing you may experience and be like, oh my god, this is so cool. Another thing you may notice is they do have little claws. Now, Minis aren't really sharp, to be honest. There are some times when if they walk on your neck or something like that, like if you have sensitive skin, it might hurt. I do find when they're babies, they're like pins. But if you provide rock and slate, they can naturally wear them down like they would in a wild. I've never actually had to cut my gecko's nails. It's not like some of the bigger lizards that need that. But giving them the opportunity to wear them down naturally is really good. But you will feel those little claws. It's nothing bad. You don't have to wear gloves. It's just maybe a bit noticeable if you've never handled them before. One thing that may happen is they may poop. This usually only happens with babies, juveniles, or just new geckos. I don't know if it's the heat of your hand as like a baby gecko suddenly is like, oh, I'm gonna poop, or they're just a little bit scared and they poop. The annoying thing is, or probably a good thing, is they usually only go once a day. So it might be that you pick them up at the wrong time. It might be that they've decided to go to the toilet on your hand. Of course, get some tissue, clean it up, put it away. But if it does become a habit, get that poop that's on your hand, it's gross, but pop it in a space in their tank. So it's not like every night they're coming out and pooping on you and waiting to come out to poop on you, because I've had some people have experienced that. If this does become a regular occurrence, put the poop in the tank. It might seem gross, but it will sort of establish an area where they go to the toilet. One thing that I know a lot of new owners worry about, and I was the same, is the tail. So we're all told this tail is going to drop off, and it can regrow, but it will drop off if you spook the gecko if you touch it. I can touch it, okay? Now, if you've got a particularly spooked baby or juvenile, don't mess with the tail if you don't have to, you know what I mean? But if you handle it and you brush against it, it's not the worst thing. When Minnie was a baby, and considering she was a little bit, you know, a bit more skittish because of her dodgy eye, she got stuck shed on her tail. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and it was quite a bit. And I had to, and you can imagine, like, I'm still terrified this tail's going to drop off. And I had to water it and help peel it. And me touching the tail, because when you touch the top, you see that move? They don't like that. Don't do that. But if you got stuck shed, you have to. So it was a very uncomfortable time. But I have to say, in all my years of having a leopard gecko, we've had fireworks go off above our house. We've had thunder and lightning storms. You know, I don't know what it takes to drop their tails. I'm so glad they haven't. But brushing against them, not a problem. Talking of stroking them, so usually I will just stroke my geckos under their chin and they'll lick your hand, and it's really sweet. Some people will actually stroke them along their backs. Now, my geckos aren't used to this and they will raise their backs, and I always interpret that as them not liking it. So I don't tend to do that, but your gecko might actually like it, you know, you can try that out. But generally I will, you see she's on the move now, she's charged up on my hand. Generally I'll stroke their head or stroke under their chin, they just lick. Don't tend to stroke around the back, but that doesn't mean you can't. The other thing, as I mentioned, is licking. So you'll notice that your gecko, if it bumps into anything, it will lick it. If you put your hand here, it will lick it. I know a lot of people get a little bit worried, and I totally was too, that you might handle the gecko and it might accidentally bite you and mistake you for food. Usually you can tell when they think you're food. I'll show a clip like here. Don't, that's my hand, that's my hand, that's my hand. I've never had a gecko bite me just out of nowhere. The only times they bite me is Minnie when she mistakes me for food. She's like, why is that not squishy like the waxworm? I also like to, oh, she's got both my hands again. Oh, that's my hand. Okay, excuse me. You just, yeah. Or I have helped out with shedding and Gizmo turned around really quick and caught my finger. Other than that, these are super docile geckos. It's not to say that you'll get a gecko, you know, that might bite out of being a little bit scared. But in comparison to a lot of pets, and I have guinea pigs, a leopard gecko bite isn't bad, so don't fear it. And if it happens once, in a way that's good, because then you don't have to worry about what it will feel like, you know, and you're like, oh, okay, that isn't actually that bad. One thing you may find different between a male and female leopard gecko is a male will tense up its back legs sometimes, and this was the weirdest sensation because I'd only had Gizmo and Minnie for years, and then I got Diego and I was holding him and I'm like, oh, what is he doing? Is he going to go to the toilet? And no, they just tense up their back legs. I think, to be honest, it's working those muscles because they come in handy when mating, and sometimes he'll do this randomly, sometimes he'll do this if he feels he's slipping a bit, but that is the main difference between a male and a female in terms of handling. In terms of how they feel, sort of their texture, their bellies are really soft along with their tails, and just after they shed they're like super soft. The top is slightly rougher, but if you've ever held like a bearded dragon, they're super rough. It's nothing like that. It's like a fully exfoliated bearded dragon turned gecko. It's super soft, not as soft as a crested gecko, but very soft. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's my first sort of video back where I'm sat in front of a camera with a gecko, and I wanted it to be casual and laid back and sort of show you how these behaviours occur sometimes. Obviously I don't have a baby leopard gecko to show you some of them, but I hope Minnie has been helpful for this video. And as I said, I will be doing a crested gecko one as well, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. But thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.